Glad you're with us. This is the Retirement Education Hour. Welcome, everyone. I'm Megan Mozak. I'm back in the studio with Kirk Cassidy and Dr. Paul Mettler. They're both financial instructors with the Retirement Education Foundation. Throughout the show today, we'll be telling you a lot more about the foundation, its goal, its mission, and also how you can get registered for the foundation's courses on retirement planning. These are like master's level courses. They're held at major colleges and universities right near you. Now, we have a great show lined up for you today. I do want to give the website. It's retirementplanningedu.org. You're welcome to check that out as you listen. Retirementplanningedu.org. Or with questions, you can call 800-240-8981. You know, as we think about building our wealth in retirement, a lot of times people are very conflicted, right? A lot of them don't know, should I leave a legacy? Should I focus on spending? Should I focus on making sure my nest egg continues to grow? And there's really two things at play here. We're going to talk to Kirk and Paul about this to understand mindset going into retirement and what it should be about our wealth, to grow it or not to. What's your perspective?
Megan, it's interesting. One of the things we teach in the class, the charity teaches in the class, is this relationship with money. And the people who tend to listen to our show, who attend our classes, consume the charity's content, their educational content. One thing they've always been really good at, and that is serving money. They are really good at growing their wealth, serving their money to raise their family, put their kids through school. They're really great at saving for retirement. And they think they're good at investing. Often they're not very good at investing. They just got lucky with an incredible stock market. We'll set that aside for a minute. All you really needed to do is buy the index, but we'll set it aside. But your relationship with money as you retire should change to one that money is there to serve them. But to change a behavior that has been for 40 plus years of saving and accumulating their wealth, growing their wealth, their scoreboard, their whether I'm doing well or not is based upon seeing their money grow. And let me just tell you, Paul, the financial service industry loves this perspective. They lean into this perspective. They coach around this perspective. They have conditioned you. Yes, you guys are all, pretty easily influenced around your finances. And what they've influenced you was by making you afraid as you age of outliving your money. They have conditioned you and trained you to focus on growing your money. And let me explain. It's really quite simple. The less you spend, the more we make. That isn't an accident. The less you spend, the more we make. The more afraid you are, the less work we have to do, and the more we make. As long as you're protecting your principal. And by the way, this protecting your principal nonsense is most of you are dying. I'll give you the statistic. 80% of you will die with the same amount of wealth you retired. It's remarkable. We're going to tell you stories like growing your wealth in retirement doesn't mean your advisor or you are doing well. Like in many cases, it's really bad. It's creating a tax trap later in life. There's a more effective way to leave wealth to your loved ones if legacy is important. But you guys are so fixated on scoreboarding based upon growing your wealth.
Yeah, I hear this in the class a lot, this disconnect, where on the one hand, you'll talk to people who will say, you know what? I want to spend as much as I can. I want to spend the most. I want to maximize my spending, but I still want to protect my principal, right? I still need to protect my principal. And that makes no sense. But the problem is people have been conditioned to believe that the only way they can enjoy their retirement, spend all they can, and know that they will never outlive their money is if they protect their principal. But the consequence is, if you protect your principal, you end up dying with more money than you probably started with.
And here's the thing, there's an effective way for you to have a controlled spend down of your principal. First, it has to start with education so you know what to look for, because most people aren't providing the services they pretend to be providing. That's why the class is like 8 hours long with master level content being taught at universities, being streamed around the country. It's why Forbes magazine featured the charity in its education. Attend one of our 8-hour classes so you can begin to better understand how to position your retirement and change your relationship with money. If you'd like to attend, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
I think one of the things that people don't realize, Kirk, about this subject is that by the time most people, I think it's fair to say, don't want to retire and die with more money than they started. Most. There may be some where legacy is really important, but for most people, that's not what people want. But often what happens is people don't realize that they're underspending until so much later in their life at a time when they don't really need to spend anymore, and it's too late, right? The go-go years that you really can enjoy your spending, those are the years you're so afraid to spend because no one has shown you can spend. By the time you realize you can, it's sort of too late at that point. I mean, it's sort of sad.
It's funny, Paul. Yeah, I shouldn't say it's funny. As you say this, we know who attends our classes and consumes our content, right? The average person attending our classes has 4.5 years of post-high school education. They tend to be a lot of engineers, executives, do-it-yourselfers, CPAs, attorneys, right? And they tend to be a lot of men, especially with the baby boomer generation, tons of men, right? And men who are logic driven in their careers don't like to admit that their financial decisions are based in emotion. So it tends to, this as a psychologist, it tends to manifest itself in other ways. Like it manifests itself in, I want to protect my principal or I want to leave a legacy. And really, I'm afraid, translation, I'm afraid to outlive my money and I don't know how to spend my money. That's what it really means. I'm not retiring until 65 when Medicare starts. Like Medicare is free. It's not. They just don't know. They already have what they need to give them what they want. They just really don't know, but they don't want to admit that they don't know. So it manifests itself in all these, I got to wait for Social Security, all these irrational thoughts that aren't productive.
Yeah, anxiety. You mentioned something about anxiety. I think you hit it right on. I think anxiety is usually the driving force behind this. But the reality is, I don't know about you, most people don't want to admit they're anxious. Most men don't want to admit they're afraid, right? I mean, it's not how we're raised. It's not part of our culture, right? So, they may come across as overly confident, but they're not going to say, listen, I'm afraid. So what do they say? Listen, I just got to protect my principal because legacy is really important to me, when it really isn't. Right,
Paul,
it's an excuse.
It is the same reason why they don't find a team to help them. They use fees, which is nonsense. If they find the right teams, they're going to pay so much less in taxes than it really costs them. It's nonsense. They don't know who to hire. They don't know the right people to hire. They're anxious. So that's why you need to attend one of our 8-hour classes. These are like master level content programs and universities and colleges in your area. All we ask is a $29 donation that goes to charity to attend. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll return with Kirk and Paul right after this. And we're back. This is the Retirement Education Hour, the website where you can get registered for the Foundation's courses on retirement planning, retirementplanningedu.org. It's as easy as that. Head there. You're going to see all the locations where these courses are taught. Those include the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi and Troy campuses, Oakland University, the University of Missouri, and Columbia College. Again, get signed up right now at retirementplanningedu.org. If you'd like to call to register, you can do that. The phone number, 800-240-8981. That's 800-240-8981. As we get back to this topic today, when we're really talking about growing your wealth in retirement, there's a lot of anxiety. People worry about running out of money, and they oftentimes will grow their wealth, but they won't spend. They live in fear. And they live in fear because they don't have one thing. And Kirk and Paul, you remind us of this every single day, but it's really critical for this particular situation and the conversation we're having. They don't have a plan. So that lack of a plan really keeps them almost paralyzed, where they could be enjoying their retirement, spending more freely. They're living far too conservatively, aren't they?
Well, they are. And I want to be very clear here, because everyone thinks they have a plan. Like Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the nose, right? Everyone thinks they have a plan. I know you engineers. Am I frustrating you yet? Am I angering you enough? Come to the class and tell me how angry you are at my comments after you attend the class. I challenge every one of you. You don't have a plan. Not a good one. I mean, you have a plan. It's not good. I can guarantee you it's not good. So come to a class so we can show you. And I'm going to give you a couple of really good examples here. The other day, we were teaching a class, And it was at the break, someone came up to me and said, my brother and I have been working with the same advisor for 30 years. And we have a retirement plan. My brother is about maybe 10, I can't remember, 5 to 10 years older. I think he said 10 years older than me. And so this person that was talking to me, the younger brother said, I'm getting ready to retire. And I asked my brother, we have the same advisor. How you doing? You're 10 years in retirement. How you doing? He said, we're doing great. My money's doubled. And the brother said to me, he didn't understand. He said, after coming to your class, I now understand. That's not good. Your money doubling isn't good. That wasn't his brother doesn't have any children. There is no legacy to leave the money to. So he's measuring whether he's doing well based upon the growth of their money. Do you understand that's the industry? The industry gives you the Monte Carlo simulations. They'll use e-money, Right Capital, what's the other one?
Money Pro.
Yeah, Money Guy Pro, thank you. A retirement analyzer, doing all the same things, using the 4% rule, using 8% growth rates, showing you how much your money's going to grow. That's not most of your objectives. Most people listening want to spend their money in retirement. They just don't want to outlive it. If you want legacy, don't let your IRAs grow. So when you're 80 years old, you're forced to take $200,000-$300,000 of RMDs. There's a more effective way if you want to leave it for legacy. But he literally was bragging to his brother that the money has doubled since he retired. And his brother's like, that's not what I want. One more story, and then I'll give it to you. The other one is a higher net worth person, which it's uncommon when we usually when someone gets above 7 million in investable assets, they recognize they need a team and they realize they don't do it themselves. It's really just that those people between the 2 to 7 million, 2 to 6 usually is where they're not used to having a team. They've grown their wealth themselves. They're going to try to do this themselves. But that 7+ million, you usually realize they need a team. This person came to the class and we met them in the class and $7 million. And they're like, legacy isn't important to me. I'm living on $120,000 a year. My wife is still, right? You're laughing. My wife is still working. I'm not sure she should retire. And I looked down and I saw his spreadsheet and he said, see my spreadsheet? I said, look at the number at the end. He had $43 million projected to be the value of his net worth when he died. He didn't care about legacy. He's worried about his wife retiring this year and they're living on 120 grand. People, you are broken when it comes to your own money. You don't need to live on 3 or 4%. That's nonsense. There are ways for you to spend 6, 7, 8, 9% withdrawal rates, but you just have to have the right teams and you have to get the education to find those teams because there's not many people that are going to be working harder to give you more money so that you can spend, so they can make less. I hope people get that. The less you spend, the more we make. There's no incentive. You have to search these people out. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask you. I think you answered it, but in both those scenarios, legacy was not a priority.
Not at all.
So
one of them didn't have a kid.
So that person didn't have a kid.
And charity was not important.
So you're saying
a little bit, but they were giving while they were alive.
So the person whose money doubled, legacy wasn't important.
No.
So the reason why he thought it was a success, the reason why he was bragging about it wasn't because he was excited to leave more money.
Mm-hmm.
It was because that must mean that he'll never run out of money. Is for him? Why do you think he was excited about that?
I think, and I see where you're going with this. I actually think that very true. It's anxiety. Like he's assured that he's not going to outlive his money, right?
Yeah.
So anxiety. But I also think their whole lives, our scoreboards are watching our money grow.
Okay.
The more wealth, right? It's serving money.
Right.
It's both the relationship with your money, serving it, and it's also, Paul, for sure, anxiety. He's not going to outlive his money. See, my money's grown.
But your point is really a good point. I do think it's really hard to switch your mindset from this. It really is. I've met people in the class who say, they're retired and they think they have to still save money in retirement.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, why are you saving money? Because that's all your point is. That's all we have ever done. I mean, all we've ever done is 40 years of working, putting money aside. And all of a sudden, I can actually spend my money. Right. So part of it, your point is it's a mindset. It's not just anxiety.
Yeah, Paul. Here, I'll prove this to everyone listening right now. Those of you who have north of $1 million right now, that do not have a professional estate plan done, a trust. Went to an estate planning attorney, at least spent $3,000 or $4,000. They've used their free legal service or discount legal services. I want you to answer this question. How much less income in retirement will you be able to spend annually if you spent $5,000 to get a good trust by an estate planning attorney that specializes in that? And we have to go to break, but the answer is it changes your income none, zero. It's meaningless, but you're serving money still. Attend one of our 8-hour classes so you understand what your relationship with money should look like. And then how do I find the right teams to help me do this? All we ask is for a $29 donation to charity. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll be back with Kirk and Paul right after this. And we're back here on the Retirement Education Hour. Today, we're really talking about anxiety when I think about it. We're talking about, people who are afraid, and they're afraid to spend in retirement, even if they've saved. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've got a great nest egg going into retirement. You're still saving. Maybe this is the year you're going to retire, or maybe you are retired and you're not spending your money simply because of fear, because of anxiety. We're talking about that today, and we're going to get back to that with Kirk and Paul here in a moment. I want to make sure you have the website, retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org, or you can call 800-240-8981. Use the phone number, use the website. That's how you get registered for the Foundation's courses on retirement planning. Now, these are not just, this isn't a dinner seminar. This is not a workshop. These are classes. They're held at major colleges and universities for a reason. These are like master's level courses, and we want to see you there. There is so much that goes into a modern retirement, so much planning, and what you don't know could end up hurting you. We don't want to see that. We want to see you have a great retirement. You deserve it. So go to the website, get registered now, retirementplanningedu.org. When you go there, you're going to see all the locations. University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, both campuses there, Novi and Troy. Oakland University is on that list, University of Missouri, Columbia College. So think about which locations near you. Get registered, sign up. They fill up quickly. So do that today, retirementplanningedu.org. Okay, so Kirk and Paul, let's talk about this lack of a plan. It really does cause a lot of anxiety. People freeze. They don't spend. They don't even withdraw their money barely, right?
Listen, Megan, this is crazy. We've said this for years. I mean, we've been doing this radio show. The Cherry's been around for over a decade now. We taught tens of thousands of people. We have hundreds of thousands of people consuming our content, and we consistently say the same thing. Our fear for you is not you outliving your money. The people consuming our content, and maybe, and I do recognize the people typically consuming our content and listening to us is not the average baby boomers, right? If you don't know, the average baby boomers retires with about $200,000 saved for retirement. About 40% of baby boomers only have Social Security, right? So we recognize who is consuming our content. Our fear for you has never been you outliving your money. You're not going to outlive your money. You're too afraid to outlive your money. Our fear for you is you're going to way underspend what you otherwise should be spending. You will work way longer than you need to. In fact, by continuing to work, you can do more damage if you just have unlucky timing. And so the data, our industry knows you won't outlive your money, but yet they still tell you need to protect your principal and keep creating fear in selling you variable annuities. They keep selling you these crap annuity products by using fear, and they know you won't outlive your money because the data tells us only 16% of retirees withdraw money on a regular basis. 30% don't touch any money out of their savings in retirement. They live on either pensions and Social Security. The other, they live on nothing. They're afraid. They have been taught to protect the principal. They're not protecting the principal. Most people are seeing their money grow. Those with $1 to $20 million of investable assets, they're not just protecting principal. They're letting their money grow, right? And they're letting them grow out of fear and anxiety. And the financial industry is still telling them, hey, when things get bad, you need to spend a little less, back it down a little. No, you don't. They just didn't do proper planning. You're going to have 8 major market events throughout retirement, Paul. They're going to be there. That's okay. On average, we have a 14% drawdown per year since 1980. These are going to happen, but yet the market just goes up 78% of the time, and it just goes up and goes up and goes up. They're going to be fine if they have the right plan and they can spend money. You can have a controlled spend down of your principal. It's okay. If someone is risk mitigated properly, you guys don't even know what you're looking for because the industry isn't teaching you. You don't know. Come to the class, please.
So you're gonna have a heart attack.
Frustrated.
One of these, Megan. I worry about him
these
sometimes.
People, I know the engineers, the CPAs, the attorneys, the executives. They think they got it. They know it all. They don't know.
I know.
You got to take the Red Bull away.
Take the Red Bull. I think I'm going to.
Yeah.
So I do want to. We've used the word anxiety a lot so far in the show. In fact, Megan, I think you accurately described the show is about anxiety. I think we do have to clarify one thing. There is, there's anxiety that's unfounded. And there's anxiety that's founded. I do want to say this: for all of you who are listening, who will probably never spend all your money and die with more, the anxiety is based on watching a history of a stock market go up and down, and them seeing their accounts go down significantly. And so from their perspective, they know that your point. There's going to be 8 major market events in the retirement. And they know there's going to be times in which their portfolio is going to go down significantly, and they don't really have any idea of what to do. So I think we're not being critical. The people who are anxious because you don't really have a strategy to spend down your money in a controlled way, you should actually be anxious because the reality is you're going to have bad events. So the anxiety is not unfounded.
You're right.
But it does reflect the fact that you're anxious because no one has helped you find a way to spend the money in a controlled way.
Well, I think that's totally fair. And I would even argue that the people consuming our content these people do research, they watch, they just read the Vanguard report, or was Morningstar, I think, said the same thing, is that over the next 10 years, the average rate of return of the S&P 500, they're projecting somewhere between 4 and 6%, not the last 30, 40 years that's been over 10%. So they get fearful of that, right? They read the reports that said that the new 4% rule is actually 3.2 or 3.9, depending on which publication and expert you want. So they hear these things, and you're right. And if you guys stick around for the last segment, we will talk to you about what a real plan should look like and why you're able, with an effective team and an effective plan, to spend 6, 7, 8, 9% a year withdrawal rates and zero chance of outliving your income. You just have to build in the proper risk mitigation. And it isn't just investments or tools. There's income distribution strategies. When the market's up, where you're taking your money from. When the market's down, where you're taking your money from. There are specific things that have to be customized to you in your situation. There's no generic rule around it. We will teach you that if you stick around for the last segment. And it's what we teach in our class. It's why it's 8 hours, Paul. We spend the first couple hours beating you up because we really have to teach you that yield signs are not yellow anymore. They're actually red. You still think they're yellow. You guys are living in old rules based upon the average baby boomer, generic default rules that do not apply to you $1 to $20 million families. Attend one of our 8-hour classes. All you need to do is make a $29 donation to charity. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll return with Kirk and Paul right after this. Glad you're with us for the Retirement Education Hour. I'm Megan Mozak here in the studio with financial instructors Kirk Cassidy and Dr. Paul Mettler. They're both with the Retirement Education Foundation. Want to make sure you head over to the website. If you haven't yet, we want you to check out the locations, the dates, and the times of the courses we've been telling you about. Now, these are retirement planning courses. They're not like any others that you've heard of. These are very, very different. These are really courses on retirement, like a master's level course. It's not a seminar or a workshop. This is going deep into your retirement planning, helping you understand what you need to know for a modern retirement. A lot of things have changed, and you have to be educated. So go to the website, get registered at retirementplanningedu.org. It's retirementplanningedu.org. These courses are held, like I said, at major colleges and universities near you, including the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi and Troy campuses, Oakland University, also the University of Missouri and Columbia College. You can get registered right now. Sign up before classes fill. retirementplanningedu.org or call 800-240-8981. We've been talking about anxiety in retirement, and it really does stem from one big place. Let's talk about this, first of all, just anxiety, maybe from a human standpoint, and then Kirk and Paul, I'd love to get into what's at work from a financial standpoint.
Well, I'm Paul. What do you say? Anxiety is a good thing. Why is Paul? Why?
I mean, it's anxiety is our body's way of signaling that something bad's going to happen. So it's a protection, right? We get anxious because something bad's going to happen, so we do something to avoid the bad thing.
The dinosaur is chasing us.
That's right.
And if we're not afraid,
we're going to get eaten up.
We're going to get eaten.
We
right?
don't. That's exactly right. That's anxiety.
I mean,
it's adaptive. We need it.
Yes.
As long as there really is a dinosaur.
Right. And there's not.
Most of the time, there's no dinosaur.
Yes, exactly. There's not. And so that's the problem, people. I love to challenge people in the class. Anyone with more than $1 million at retirement, I'm willing to bet none of you will spend your money down past $500,000. You're going to be too afraid. I mean, listen, old people aren't cheap. They get scared. Cognitively, things change. They change, and no one thinks it's going to happen to them, but we know 15% of the people in their 60s will see measurable cognitive decline. 15. But that jumps up to 35 to 40% in their 70s. I'm going to say it again, 35 to 40% of you will have measurable cognitive decline. I promise you that will impact your spending, your money decisions, and everything you do related to your finances, because you think the dinosaur's chasing you. You can't connect dots, and so you're scared. You shut down, you don't spend. It's normal. One of those anxiety moments isn't quite to I'm retired yet. I'm approaching retirement, and I don't really know if I have enough. Even if I'm the engineer, I've run my own Monte Carlo simulations, I've stress tested, I know I'm okay. But we meet people all the time that get buyouts and tell us the story how 48 hours before the deadline, they rescind their buyout offer because they just freak out. Because that's a natural reflex. That's a natural reaction to anxiety. It's either fight or flight. And most of us at our ages, we're not fighting anymore. We're gonna try to escape. And so they try to escape. And this thing around retirement is a really big issue because there's a significant risk by people continuing to work when they have what they need to give them what they want. So in other words, if you've won, think of it as a race. You've won a marathon, you've won it. But instead of taking your roses and you won the marathon, you refuse to accept that I'm going to go back and rerun that marathon or the last 5 miles of the marathon. And guess what? We have a major market event. And therefore, I tear my hamstring, and now I can't finish the marathon. The risk reward, guys, is it took you 40 years to accumulate the wealth you have right now. An extra year in your 60-40 portfolios means your $2 million turns into $2.2 million. That's what it means. Best case scenario, well, on average, right? Do you understand that? A 60-40 portfolio, average rate of return, call it 8% on $2 million. It's just under $2.2 million. That means just to quantify it, and let me take this for a while. Sorry, Paul. But let me quantify what an extra $160,000 to $200,000 in retirement gives you over your lifetime. It gives you about $1,000, maybe $2,000 a year of income over your lifetime. I know you guys will say the math doesn't work. It does. With inflation, with volatility and sequence of returns risks, that's all it means. So let me do it for a $3 million person. Someone who's got $3 million, you've got a 60-40 portfolio. We have an average market event. Your $3 million is now worth 8 times 3, 2, right? So you've got, call it $3.3 million. That means annually your income can increase because you worked an extra year and your 60-40 portfolio went up, call it 10%. Your annual income can go up about $3,000 to $4,000. But if we have a 60-40 market event. If we have a 3 standard deviation event like 2008, your 60-40 will lose 30%. Or if we have a 2022 60-40 event, your 60-40 portfolio was down about 23%. So you have now that $3 million, if we have a 60-40 2008 event, is down to about $2 million. You've just lost, I'm doing math in my head, you've lost 240, sorry guys, 160. You've lost $60,000 a year of income in retirement. One extra year of working cost you six if we have a bad market event. And they'll say, no, I'll just keep working. No, you won't. You're 60 something years old. We have a recession. Who's getting let go? You're the first one being cut. So not only are you losing your job, your portfolio's down 30%, and you just cost your income $60,000, $40,000 to $60,000. The risk reward isn't there. When you have enough to give you what you want, you have to retire. Your anxiety is preventing you from doing that. How do you cure anxiety, Paul? How do you?
Zoloft.
Zoloft. Yes. No,
which is education, knowledge.
That's
knowledge,
right.
Yeah.
And Paul said 2 words the whole segment. The entire segment, Paul said 2 words. So this is why you need to attend. It's my fault. One of our 8-hour, almost master's level courses. This is master level content being taught at universities, and we stream this for our people around the country who are listening to our podcast, watching our TV shows. You have to attend this. We're going to teach you how to be able to retire earlier, spend more money, pay less taxes, and then most importantly, how to find the right teams to build you the right plans. All we ask is a $29 donation to charity. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll return. There's more Retirement Education Hour coming up next. And we're glad you're with us. This is the Retirement Education Hour. I'm back with Kirk Cassidy and Dr. Paul Mettler. They're both with the Retirement Education Foundation. They are financial instructors there. In fact, you have a chance to meet them or other instructors just like them from the foundation when you attend the foundation's courses on retirement planning. These are retirement planning courses unlike any others. Don't be confused. This is not a seminar. This is not a workshop or a dinner workshop. This is like a master's level class on retirement planning. We want to see you there. There are 2 easy ways to reserve your spot. You can call 800-240-8981, or you can go online, retirementplanningedu.org. I will tell you, when space opens up, these spots go really quickly. So want to see you there. Want to encourage you to go to the website now and pick the time and location that's best for you. Now, those locations include major universities near you, including the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi and Troy campuses, Oakland University, the University of Missouri, and Columbia College. Go to retirementplanningedu.org to register right now or call 800-240-8981. Talking about anxiety in retirement today. A lot of people aren't spending, right? And so they have anxiety about running out of money, but they don't spend. And so what ends up happening, Kirk?
Well, here's the thing. So, we've said most people that we're meeting that are attending these classes, these $1 to $20 million families, the trend over the last number of years, I've really seen it over the last 3 years. I think maybe has something to do with education here, is legacy is becoming less of a priority and spending their money while they're alive is becoming more of their priority. And I think we're unleashing some of that because the anxiety of outliving money, because people are better understanding risk mitigation and the strategies, dynamic income planning, where to take the money when the market's up, where to take it when it's all those things I think are helping people to feel more comfortable to spend more money. I think that contributes to the trend. But there are people who really do want to leave a legacy for the children. And there's a group of people who are not going to find the right teams to help them. And whether it's I'm leaving legacy for my children or charities, or I'm really afraid, but I'm not admitting it. It all results in the same thing, is a trap. And the trap is the required minimum distributions that especially these $1 to $10 million families, the amount of money they're going to be forced to take, taxable money, when they're in their upper 70s and early 80s, is staggering to people. When we go through that exercise in the class and give people homework and they go home and do the calculation, and we teach them how much RMDs they're going to have to take. They teach them how much of the Social Security is be taxable, what marginal tax bracket they're going to be in, what effective tax bracket they're going to be in. And they realize conventional wisdom tells them not to spend their IRAs and 401ks until last, which is horrible advice. That is wrong advice. Whether you want legacy or not, our goal needs to be, I want to pay as little taxes as I have to over my lifetime, and deferring my retirement accounts as long as possible, and not blending in some of those dollars and Roth converting strategically at the right time and spending those dollars at the right times based upon what things will see. What we teach you in the class is, how do I, if I do no planning, project what my income, my taxes, my RMDs are going to look like at 80 years old? And then if I work backwards, how do I run scenarios, iterate, so I can pay the least amount of taxes over my lifetime? Not this year, next year, not just worrying about IRMA brackets in 1 year. How do I pay the least amount of tax over my lifetime? That's the education we go through in the class. People realize that they're making huge mistakes. I mean, I just do the math. If you're 60 years old and you have $1 million in your 401ks, what do you think they're going to be worth in 20 years when you're 80 years old? I mean, you guys aren't going to be forced to take RMDs until 75. So just imagine, use the rule of 72. That $1 million turns into $2 million in 10 years, turns into $4 million in 20 years. You have $4 million at 80 years old. Your RMDs are going to be like 200 grand plus Social Security, plus pensions. The math is crazy. The amount of income they're being forced to take in taxable income. And that means less money for your kids.
And also, one of you will die first.
Yes.
Right? So
It's ugly.
the surviving spouse then is dumped with huge RMDs at an age and a time when they don't really want to spend anything, right?
Paul, they die and they go from married filing joint to single.
That's right. Taxes go up.
Double.
That's right.
Or half of allowable income, I should say.
Right. I mean, when you say it's a trap, it's not. It doesn't only hurt children, and so if legacy is important to you, this is obviously work. But it's also really bad for one of you. Will, if you're married, one of you will die first, and that's the worst thing you can do for your spouse, right? Because your spouse and all of their Social Security will be taxable at that point, right?
Yep.
And most likely they will be older, and you'll be gone, and they're not going to spend anything at a time when they're going to be forced to spend a ton of money.
They'll be forced to take it out.
Take it out at least. Fair enough.
And then people will say, well, they'll reinvest it. Yeah, after paying all those taxes.
Right.
And do we think taxes are going up in the next 10 to 20 years?
Probably.
Yes.
Probably.
These are all avoidable mistakes. See, the really smart do-it-yourselfer people, I got it all figured out. No, you have none of this figured out. You have no clue. Yes, you all know what a donor advised fund is. Many of you know what a DAF is, an acute qualified charitable distribution, and you know what Roth conversions are, and you know all these things, but you have no idea the most effective way to deploy them, when to deploy them, and how to deploy them. You don't. Neither do most of the teams you're working with. That's what the class is going to teach you. The right questions to be asking yourselves and the teams to know that you're getting the best possible outcomes. You're not. This is not pass-fail, Paul. It doesn't need to be pass-fail.
Yeah.
You can have an A-rated, B-rated, C-rated, D-rated, or E-rated retirement plan.
As you're talking, I'm thinking, do you think everybody knows what an RMD is?
Required minimum distribution?
Which is what?
A forced distribution out of your retirement accounts.
You mean I have to take money if I don't want to?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we do assume everybody knows that.
Yes.
Not everybody knows that, right? The reality is, at what age? In your 70s.
Yes, it's 72, 70. Well, for most people now, it's either 73 or most people listening is probably 70.
And the percentage goes up every single year, meaning the government wants their taxes. They never got it.
That's right.
They're going to force you to take money you don't want, right?
It's a joint account.
Maybe during a market correction that you didn't have a pivot account for. Yeah. And it's just, this is the example of spraining your leg, right? This is an example of running the race again and
tearing your ACL.
And tearing your ACL. Thank you.
Like we've seen a few this weekend in the NFL. Listen, here's the thing. Paul, you said pivot accounts. You said all kinds of, it's so interesting. The people who really think they know things, they don't know anything about this. This is the first time you're ever going to do it. This is the first time. It is your financial health. Don't treat it different than your physical health. Spend 8 hours. Make a $29 donation to charity. That's all we ask. Spend 8 hours. Receive master's level content in university setting or stream it live from wherever you're at in the country. All we ask you to do is register at retirementplanning.edu retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
And we'll return with Kirk and Paul right after this. And we're back here on the Retirement Education Hour talking about anxiety in retirement, especially about what you're spending. And we've got Kirk and Paul here. Of course, Kirk Cassidy, Dr. Paul Mettler, they're both financial instructors with the Retirement Education Foundation. And all of that is possible. It does start with education. And the good news is the foundation makes education very, very easy for you. Now, they've got courses on retirement planning. These are held at major colleges and universities. We'd love to see you registered today. They're held at the University of Michigan, Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University, Novi and Troy campuses, Oakland University, also the University of Missouri and Columbia College. Go to that website now, get registered at the location that works for you, retirementplanningedu.org, or call 800-240-8981. And before we jump back into the topic du jour, a big announcement coming for next year. Kirk and Paul, tell us about 2026 and this exciting partnership.
So we have chosen, the charity has chosen, the Retirement Education Foundation is partnering with Alzheimer's again. We did this a couple of years ago. We had a great year. I think as a charity, we raised almost $80,000 for Alzheimer's. This year, we're going to do it again. But we're going to incorporate a few new things. I think we're going to offer some volunteer education opportunities where we'll bring people in that are consuming the retirement education's content to come in who may want to volunteer. And Alzheimer's Association is going to teach them how to be caregivers, teach them how to see the signs of dementia and Alzheimer's. This is definitely Paul's lane. We're excited to partner. We also have a partnership with them. We're working on a sort of a companion program. I can't release any details yet that the charities is thinking about doing with Alzheimer's in partnership with. We're still vetting that out, but we're super excited about this partnership. And I think this may become a very long-term sustained partnership with the Retirement Education
Can
Foundation.
I clarify one thing?
Yeah, please.
It's not my lane because I have it.
No, it's not. It's
Okay.
It is your education.
Thank you. Just want to be
As
clear.
a psychologist.
I don't want people who are listening thinking, then why is he on the show?
No, it's not. Paul's a clinical psychologist. He was the clinical director of mental health for half the state of Michigan in his previous life. And then he was geriatric psychology. What do they?
Fellow.
Yeah. What they call it now? What do they call it now?
Geropsych.
Geropsych at Northwestern, right? Right. So Paul has a little background in this. You can tell from the charity, he's a volunteer, and as some of the content from the courses, there's a lot of behavioral finance and the aging process built in, what to anticipate, how to plan, how to risk mitigate around that as you're aging is a big part of the class. So it's a great partnership. We're super excited, but I really want to talk about something we teased earlier today, I should say, Paul. We talked about what is the solution? What is the antidote? We always do this in the last segment. It is proper, comprehensive, individualized planning. And I will challenge every single person listening. If you think you have a plan, if you think your advisors or teams have built you a plan or you've done it yourself, I will challenge all of you to attend one of our 8-hour classes. And after attending that 8-hour class, you still think you have an effective retirement plan. You have something that is best for you. If you think that after this class, we'll make a $2,000 donation. The charity will make a $2,000 donation to whatever charity you want. I challenge all of you because you don't have it. I can promise you don't have it. The proper planning would have 30 years of income mapped out, and then places to pivot to when the market is down to take your income from, places to go to if the market's up to take your income from. A proper plan will have spent 50 hours iterating, running hundreds of scenarios, trying to find the most tax efficient path to take your income from different accounts, when to take Social Security. Social Security is a tax problem, by the way. It's a tax problem in a surviving spouse discussion. It's not the online calculator. That's wrong. 90% of people are taking Social Security improperly. That's what the Social Security Administration says. How much to Roth convert isn't a simple, quick, the next 10 callers gets a free tax analysis. That is nonsense. Someone has to spend 50 hours. There's no software to do this. You literally have to iterate. If I start taking Social Security at 65 and Roth convert 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, if I Roth convert her money first, his money second, if I Roth 80% her money, 20% her money, If I wait until 67 to take my Social Security, Roth convert 10, 20, 30, 40, you have to iterate, taking money out of my IRAs, taking money out of my Roth, taking money out of my non-IRA accounts, how much to fill brackets, not bump brackets. A proper plan is going to have 30 years of many, many, many different accounts per registration, depending on when you're taking income and what market conditions are during that time frame. And then 30 years of tax projections, who someone has iterated many, many, many times. Protecting the surviving spouse, the tax trap. What happens is they're disclaiming, is the estate planning coordinated with the financial planning? Meaning, did the financial planner work with the estate planning attorney, working with the CPA when in constructing the plans? Because there are things when the first spouse dies, like disclaiming, that is a really great tax management strategy that no one talks about. No one's talking. You don't have a plan, Paul. They don't have a plan. Will you tell them they don't have a plan, please?
They don't have a plan. That's all I had to say.
Right.
So, I mean, I think one of the most important connections to this whole segment is, I mean, we've talked a lot about anxiety. That's really what the show has been about, right? And at the end of the day, I think the reason why we feel so strongly about this is the one thing we've seen, the proof is in the pudding. We've seen it. That when people have these strategies, when people have things written out, anticipating future risks, whether it's taxes or health or
Long-term
the
care.
stock market or whatever, long-term, whatever it is, when people have it all anticipated and spelled out, and they know if this happens, someone has thought about a way to handle it, the anxiety goes away, right? And what happens when the anxiety goes away? People actually do spend, they stop saving, and they actually spend what they really want to spend, and they actually enjoy the time they have in a way that you don't if you don't spend because you're anxious. So, I mean, it really is the antidote to anxiety. That's the bottom line. And how do they get this antidote?
It's funny, Paul. It's like there's medication.
It's Zoloft.
It's Zoloft for retirement.
Of course. I feel like we should call it the Zoloft for retirement.
So all you have to do is make a $29 donation to charity to attend the charity's classes. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
Retirement Education Foundation is a fiscally sponsored program of United Charitable, a registered 501c3 public charity. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Retirement Education Foundation is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Retirement Education Foundation is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Retirement Education Foundation. This radio show is paid for by the Retirement Education Foundation, a charitable program.